want justice. What is certain is that every day that this rebellion continues, these people are becoming better organized and more determined.
The man commanding the defenders of Saranda is a former army officer. If he loses here, he will face treason charges. But he told me that he and his men are ready to fight and die to drive out what they say is the corrupt government of President Berisha. In this area of southern Albania, the rebellion is spreading. We arrived in a village near Saranda just after rebels had taken it over. Ordinary people appear to support them, though it may mean that their quiet lives are about to be shattered by war. Nearby, people are still looting an abandoned army base, which has provided the rebels with many of their weapons. Demonstrations demanding the president's removal continued tonight, and the town echoed with gunfire as the rebels lit up the night sky with bursts from their machine guns. With reports that the army may be preparing to move in, these guns may soon be fired not just in defiance, but in anger. Julian Mannion, News at 10, Saranda.
As we said, the Albanian government is still making life difficult for foreign reporters. Our diplomatic editor, Robert Moore, couldn't travel to the south of the country today, but because restrictions on satellites have been lifted, he's able to join us now from the capital, Tirana. Robert, we heard from Julian Mannion there in the rebel-held south of the country. You were in the government-controlled south. What's it been like there today?
Well, the Albanian secret police are now fully in control of implementing the emergency regulations and of suppressing the insurrection. On the ground where I was, which is on the government side of what is effectively a front line, the situation remains extremely tense and volatile. There are a large number of roadblocks. There is, of course, throughout Albania a curfew and also widespread intimidation by the secret police. We were stopped from filming at gunpoint. I think the real fear down in the south, though, on the government side, is the uncertainty of what the government will do next.
And what do you think that's likely to be, Robert?
Well, it's always difficult to know, Trevor, in a state as secretive as this. I think President Berisha has two choices. One is to order in the military and to try and crush the rebellion by force. That, of course, has two immediate consequences, one of which is a major loss of life, the second of which will discredit his regime throughout Europe. And his second choice, and I think it's more likely tonight, is that President Berisha will try and isolate the rebellion and to slowly smother it over the coming weeks.
Robert Moore in Tirana, thank you very much. The British au pair Louise Woodward has been told in America tonight that she'll be charged with first-degree murder over the death of the 9-month-old child she was supposed to be looking after. It's the most serious charge, and it carries a life sentence with no parole if she's found guilty. From the United States, James Mate reports.
You want to say about what happened?
It could not have been a worse result for Louise Woodward. A grand jury, a panel of 23 citizens of Boston, has seen the evidence against her and decided that she should face the most serious charge available under US law, first-degree murder.
All right.
When she was last in court 3 weeks ago, the judge refused a request that she be let out on bail. Just this morning, the mayor of Boston appealed for her now to be granted bail, but after this evening's news, such a prospect seems remote in the extreme. Facing life in jail without parole if she's convicted, the prosecutors will argue there's a serious risk she'll try and flee. It's alleged that 9-month-old Matthew Eapen died while in her care after his head was struck against something hard and blunt. She is pleading not guilty. Her mother told ITN from her home in Britain tonight that her daughter denied harming the child.
She can think of nothing that she did that day that would cause Matthew to have any sort of seizure at all. She took very good care of him and did everything that she could to help him when he was in difficulties.
If a jury were to find her responsible, they could still bring in a verdict of second-degree murder, even manslaughter. But the prosecution is clear, it will be pressing for the toughest possible penalty. James Mates, News at 10 in the United States.
The government's discomfort over Gulf War syndrome increased yet further today. Another defense minister admitted that he'd passed on incorrect information to Parliament. This time it was Earl Howe on what caused the death of camels and sheep in the war zone. His admission did nothing to explain the causes of Gulf War syndrome, but as our science editor Lawrence McGinty reports, recent research does offer possible explanation about what the veterans are suffering.
During the Gulf War, many camels, sheep and goats were unintentional casualties. The Ministry of Defence said tests in Edinburgh showed they died from mines, bullets or starvation. Today, the Ministry had to admit previous answers on this question were just wrong.
Early yesterday evening, I received departmental advice that there is now considerable doubt over the accuracy of my answers.
The suspicion is that animals were affected by the same chemical cocktail that could have caused Gulf War syndrome in soldiers. Critics were quick to point out the parallels.
Yet again, we've got a middle to the government that have misled Parliament, and in the course of doing so, have let down many women out in the Gulf who deserve much better.
Recent research has shown that a combination of factors, including injections that soldiers were given to protect against biological weapons, could have caused Gulf War syndrome. Suspicion has also fallen on the tablets, called NAPs, that they took against chemical weapons. But most controversy has centred on the use of organophosphate pesticides to spray tents to kill insects.
There are a number of chemicals, a number of drugs that people took in circumstances which were uncontrolled, and I think those combination of factors could have caused ill health in quite a few people, and it needs looking at.
It was on September the 25th that the Surgeon General, Vice Admiral Tony Revell, first admitted to ministers that pesticides had been widely used in the Gulf. On October the 4th, Nicholas Soames was forced to admit to the House of Commons he'd misled them on this issue. Today, Earl Howe had to admit Parliament had again been misled.
This thing about organophosphates, yes, some of us have been affected by it, but what we still strongly believe is the main cause of their illnesses is to do with the cocktail of vaccinations we had and the nerve agent tablets we were taking.
Research so far hasn't been able to disentangle this mixture of possible causes, but the existence of Gulf War syndrome is looking more likely.
What amazes us that every day, even now, and it's 6 years since the war ended, we are getting new cases of people who've been unwell for some time but didn't associate their condition with the Gulf.
In all this, tonight, two things are clear. The scientific evidence that some veterans of the Gulf War are suffering from something, whatever the cause, is growing, as is the number of embarrassing government errors which obstruct finding out exactly what happened. Maurice McGinty, News at 10 at the Ministry of Defence.
Labour and the Liberal Democrats revealed joint plans today for a referendum on scrapping Britain's first-past-the-post voting system and replacing it with proportional representation. They've been discussing the plan in secret for 4 months. The Prime Minister explained today what the government wants to do to solve the looming problem of too many pensioners and too few people paying taxes to keep them. And he's hoping it could be an election vote winner. It's to be known as the Basic Pension Plus, and as Mr. Major explained, it will only affect first-time voters and those who are younger still. Our political editor, Michael Brunston, explains the significance.
For the government and many other people besides, there is a basic problem about pensions, and it is this: that with people living longer, there are more and more and more pensioners.
There is for any government another problem. Britain has no state old age pension fund. Both the present old age pension and the extra state pension scheme, SERPs, are simply paid out from the money the government gets in each year from taxes and national insurance contributions. So more and more pensioners create a bigger and bigger bill. Under the new Basic Pensions Plus plan, everyone will have to open their own private pension fund, managed by a firm of their choice. While everyone will still pay national insurance while working, the government will ensure that at least £9 of that national insurance payment will be invested per week in the funds. After a lifetime's employment, someone on average earnings should have £130,000 invested in their fund, enough to pay out a pension of £175 per week. For those who can't afford things, there'll be a safety net for the poor and unemployed. But the Labour Party called in the cameras to denounce the scheme. It's privatisation, they said, and Tory promises to underwrite it are, like all their promises, worthless. And from the former Labour Cabinet Minister who brought in SERPs, this angry summary.
This is simply a recipe to increase insecurity and poverty in old age, to widen the gap in our society, which has been so blatant. The widening gap. You're all right, brother, if you're well off.
The Liberal Democrats, too, voiced their grave concern.
I feel that we've got to keep the universal basic state pension. That is something I've fought for many years now. I will carry on fighting for it.
But in number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister said that and more is exactly what the new scheme would deliver, but in a far more efficient and effective way.
It's a reform that will mean the British people will be able to look forward to retirement with even greater confidence in future. And it offers for our young people a pensions opportunity that quite literally will be unrivaled anywhere else in the world.
And other Conservatives are saying that as an example of a radical solution to a 21st century problem, the new pension scheme is a vote-winning big idea. But in a clear attempt tonight to try and show that things are different now under the Tories, Mr Major in a television interview has for the first time admitted that going into the ERM under Mrs Thatcher and being forced out, as he puts it, under his premiership was a political mistake. Events, he said, made monkeys out of us. Michael Brunson, News at 10, Westminster.
We have more news to come tonight, including the terrible mix-up that could have created a radioactive cocktail. Hopes dashed is at the end of the line for the nuclear protesters. Has this goal guaranteed Manchester United a place in the European Cup semi-finals? And the message these women want John Major to pass on.
People everywhere, particularly women, are outraged by his remarks. They find them deeply insulting and deeply offensive.
This wee laddie's got some growing to do, but I know he'll end up tall and true, because he's getting all the goodness of the pure whole wheat that goes into his favourite breakfast, shredded wheat. So he'll end up like his granddad, solid on his feet.
Shredded wheat is made only from 100% pure whole wheat, simply shredded and baked till it's crisp, golden,
and just the way we like it.
Shredded wheat in bite size. There's only wheat in shredded wheat.
I can't believe you can say that to me. Here, now, when I'm vulnerable.
Only Cellnet let you make and receive calls throughout North America.
Thousands of miles away from home. For pity's sake, Helen. You're my wife. It can't be true.
I'm sorry, Jack. It is true. Leeds 0, Rotherham 3.
Out the cop to flipping Rotherham.
Call Cellnet to buy or hire a US-compatible mobile before you go. Of Mayfair. It's not just the thought that counts, it's the chocolates.
There used to be a few nights each month when I'd find it hard to sleep. I'd be restless, wondering if everything was all right. Now New Always Ultra Night helps me sleep a lot better. It's longer and wider, with wings for extra protection at the sides, and its super absorbent lock-away core means that I feel really protected all through the night.
New Always Ultra Night. The night protection you've always dreamed of.
About a year ago, I had my last cigarette. You start... Hello. Whoa, this is good. You know, I can breathe, get a full lungful. Once upon a time, I wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes with this pair. Hopeless. You know what I mean? Now that I've stopped, then I might be around to do the same thing with their kids. It'd be great.
Vienna, tomorrow.
Where now?
Prague.
The Mitsubishi Charisma doesn't need an implausible plot shot by an overpaid director. The Mitsubishi Charisma. Some cars have it, some don't.
Excuse me!
Welcome back. Scientists and ministers appeared to agree today that there seems to be little danger of radioactive contamination from fizzy drinks, which by a terrible mix-up were given carbon dioxide bubbles from a nuclear power plant. But the Scottish Secretary Michael Forsyth said there must now be a full inquiry into how it happened and why no one knew for so long. From Ayrshire, Tim Hewitt reports.
In Scotland tonight, drinkers were still enjoying an iron brew in their whisky, despite the scare over contamination in that and other locally produced fizzy drinks like lemonade and cola. The scare began here at the Hunterston B power station. During maintenance work 2 weeks ago, it's feared radioactive gas could have escaped into these storage tanks. They're used for the liquid which cools the reactor. It's delivered by tankers, which also supply drinks manufacturers. The tankers arrive full of liquid carbon dioxide. As they empty the liquid, they are filled with CO2 gas to maintain pressure. It was this gas that was contaminated and could then have affected other carbon dioxide supplies, which might have found their way into fizzy drinks. Whatever the levels of contamination, worrying questions have been raised about the same road tankers being used for the nuclear industry and the food and drinks industry. Scottish health officials have been ordered to start an immediate investigation and report back within a week. That investigation was demanded by the Scottish Secretary, Michael Forsyth.
No one should be using the same vehicles and equipment to make deliveries of carbon dioxide or indeed any other supplies to nuclear installations and also to other locations where there may in consequence be a risk to human health.
Officials at Hunterston say there's been no risk to the public and that any release of radioactivity was negligible. But that seems little comfort to those local people already uneasy about the plant.
You hear fire engines sometimes late at night passing and you wonder where the fire is, and nothing's heard until maybe the next week in the paper, and you read that there was an incident at Hunterston.
Tonight it was announced that the tanker which brings carbon dioxide here will no longer be used for any other deliveries. Tim Hewitt, News at 10 at Hunterston in Ayrshire.
Two different sides of the Conservative Party were on show today as reaction grew to yesterday's outspoken comments by the MP David Evans. On the one hand, the Prime Minister condemned what Mr. Evans had said. On the other, his party chairman said Mr. Evans's views were shared by many Conservatives. Joe Andrews reports.
David Evans brought the wrath of Labour's women MPs down on his head today. They went to Downing Street to demand that he be removed because of the insulting remarks he made about a wide variety of groups. The MP himself wasn't speaking publicly except to say sorry to the Prime Minister, whom he called vicious and not forgiving.
Secondly, will you condemn unreservedly the totality of David Evans' remarks?
On the second point, yes.
And sorry to Mrs. Bottomley for calling her dead from the neck upwards.
A very gallant and an elegant apology.
There was backing, though, from one of his colleagues.
What we're talking about here is the man on the street being able to have his say, and that's what David has portrayed. And he has a lot of courage for doing so, and I admire him and support him.
But there was little evidence of backing in his Welwyn Hatfield constituency.
Oh, he is. He's a waste of space.
He's a bit of an idiot, isn't he? Let's face it.
He should, consider people before he starts making things up about women and stuff.
And there was no personal apology for Melanie Johnson, his Labour opponent, whom he accused of having, in his words, 3 bastard children.
I'm very sorry today to hear that he's merely apologised in a very generalised way, not to my children, and I believe that action should speak louder than words, and we should have his resignation now.
Central Office had hoped this row would simply go away, but tomorrow's Mirror newspaper claims to have 2 more tapes of Mr. Evans in which he accuses the Germans of trying to take over Europe with a single currency. Joe Andrews, News at 10.
The Attorney General said today the Daily Mail won't face contempt charges for its coverage of the Stephen Lawrence case. The paper accused 5 youths of murdering him in a racially motivated attack. Stephen was stabbed to death at a bus stop. And an unfair dismissal case brought by the former maid of Princess Diana ended today with both sides claiming victory. Sylvia McDermott received a secret settlement which she likened to winning the lottery. The 6-day journey of German nuclear waste, dogged every mile by protest, finally ended today. The demonstrators failed to stop the train and its controversial cargo reaching its destination, a storage depot at Gorleben in the north. But the protests and the violence continued right to the end. Our Europe correspondent Bill Neely watched it arrive.
From under the tracks and over the trees, they tried to stop Germany's nuclear convoy,
but one by one they were cut down and taken away. The final efforts, brave but futile. The German government has invested too much in this industry and this convoy to allow even widespread opposition to succeed. In the end, it was a battle of wills and the water won it. Inch by inch, thousands of police pushed back as many protesters and cut a path for the nuclear waste. The demonstrators hid under bales of hay and plastic sheets, but they were washed away. The police began their push in the middle of the night, with more water cannon, weapons and vehicles in one place than Germany has seen since World War II. By daybreak, small gangs were breaking away to attack heavily armoured vehicles, but they broke nothing. Instead, squads of well-organised police broke up the demonstrators' camp. The German government has won this battle, but Chancellor Helmut Kohl will not benefit from these scenes. Small German towns transformed to battlegrounds. Germany's opposition parties gaining support by calling for an end to these convoys. They want the nuclear waste sent to Sellafield in Britain. Before this showdown, the German government, though, had planned another 100 convoys in the next few years. This is the end of the road for this nuclear waste, but it's not the end of the controversy. The German government has paid heavily for this operation. It's a cost it may not be able to bear again. Bill Neely, News at 10, Gorleben.
Tonight, sports news. Manchester United overran their Portuguese opponents FC Porto in their European Cup quarter-final at Old Trafford tonight. They'll take a 4-0 lead into the second leg. It revived memories of European glory days 30 years ago. Our sports reporter Peter Staunton was at Old Trafford.
The biggest European Cup night at Old Trafford for almost 30 years. United knew the opposition was one of Europe's elite clubs. They didn't bargain on being caught cold right at the start.
Playing games like that is, I suppose, every player's dream. And, you know, hopefully it's going to be the same when we go over there.
What a fantastic performance. And everyone worked so hard, and some of the football, well, it was a great game.
The European Cup glory beckons for United once more. The second leg in 2 weeks' time should be just a formality. Peter Staunton, News at 10, Old Trafford.
There are several key games in the Premiership tonight. Fabrizio Ravanelli scored twice for bottom-of-the-league Middlesbrough. They beat Derby 6-1. Steve Claridge scored Leicester's winner against Aston Villa. Scott Minto scored Chelsea's equaliser against Blackburn. Reggie Blinker got Sheffield Wednesday's second as they beat Forest 3-0. And a Craig Short own goal gave Southampton a draw against Everton. In the Scottish Premier League, David Kirkwood scored Rake's winner against Kilmarnock from the penalty spot. In tonight's midweek lottery, national lottery draw, one person won the 3.4 million jackpot. The winning numbers were 7, 12, 20, 24, 28 and 43. The bonus ball was 45. Finally, the Post Office has given its stamp of approval to reducing pollution with a new fleet of environmentally friendly post vans. They've taken delivery of 27 new vans which run on liquid gas. Our business editor, Mark Webster, has been for a test drive.
Filling up with a difference. This is a genuine gas station. The same stuff we use to cook the family roast may one day propel the family car. Though the gas tanks are still rather bulky, these vans can do 200 miles without refuelling, and the driver's still safe to light a cigarette.
This revolutionary car with the 200 horsepower engine established the world's first gas turbine automobile records in 1952.
Gas-powered cars have been around for years. During the war, gas was used to beat the petrol shortage. But this 2-year experiment with Royal Mail should show if gas can challenge more traditional fuels.
An increasing percentage will be alternative fuels. There might be gases, in fact there might be electric vehicles, but there will certainly be a combination. It won't be a single source.
And despite some loss of performance, experts say gas does have a commercial future.
In fact, performance and handling aren't significantly different. And the real hope is that vans and cars powered by gas like this one could reduce the level of emissions by up to 50%. That's particularly important given the problems of pollution on Britain's roads and could make a significant contribution to the environment. Mark Webster, News at 10, Croydon.
And that's it tonight. Until tomorrow, from all of us here at ITN, good night.
Hello, good evening. Now, there's been some rain around today, but once that's cleared out of the picture tonight, it's leaving us with a cold and frosty one for all of us. But the clear skies bring good news tomorrow. It's sunshine, I think, for all of us. Now, it's the passing of this front which has brought the rain today, and it's also responsible for bringing this really cold air down from the northern Atlantic. Behind the front, though, high pressure is currently building, and that's going to bring some fine and settled weather over the next few days. But under the clear skies, temperatures will fall below freezing in Scotland and Northern Ireland tonight, bringing a widespread frost as far south as the Midlands. In fact, it's only the southeast that will escape that frost, and that's because the cloud and rain we had today won't clear here until the early hours of tomorrow morning. Once it does clear, though, I think we're in for some good weather tomorrow. Now, it's going to be dry for all of us all day, and a good deal of sunshine for most of us as well. We'll see that sunshine tending to turn a bit hazy later in the north and west as the cloud thickens up a bit here, and at the same time those winds picking up and turning quite strong, I think, for Scotland and Northern Ireland in particular. Temperatures then ranging from 8 to 11, that's the high at 52 Fahrenheit. Now that's a bit cooler than today, but with the light winds and all the sunshine it should feel better. Good night.
Powergen, generating electricity whatever the weather.
Ashley Grice will die unless a suitable bone marrow donor is found. In response to a GMTV appeal, the Duchess of York has pledged her support.
I now want to get on the case completely and try and be a woman of my actions rather than just words.
She said she'd do anything to help. She meant it. Find out how tomorrow on GMTV.
You have a nanny, but do you know what she's doing with your children?
So I figured, let me see what's going on.
In America, parents are spying on their nannies.
I never, ever expected to see her beating the kids.
Now the spy cameras are coming here.
The bottom line is I'm a mother, and those are my kids. And if there are any legal or ethical issues, I really don't care.
Big Brother or Caring Mother? 3D, Thursday at 7:30 on Granada.
Manchester City battle with Portsmouth. All the goals and reaction in Granada's soccer night at 10:40.
I think I'll drive to work today. Mrs. Jones?
Fine, Mr. Jones.
We could be, we could be, we could be, you and I forever. We could be, yeah, we could be lifted up.
Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, Mrs. Jones.
We could be lifted, we could be lifted on the shadow.
Sometimes the simplest way to get things done is to strip down to the bare essentials. It's a belief we share at Cheltenham and Gloucester. Because we're streamlined, we're cost efficient. For investments, for mortgages, Cheltenham and Gloucester, we're around to make you richer.
It needn't be hell to cut out smoking. Now Nicotine-L have two delicious flavoured nicotine gums. There's Cool Mint and Fruity Original. Both tasting better than you'd ever expect. So if you're determined, there's no tastier way to beat the craving. It needn't be hell with Nicotine-L.
Okay, stir-fried chicken for 5 minutes, eggs, non-spoon, pepper, spring onion. Then, who is star sauce mixture? Who is star sauce like instant marinade? Very simple, very nice.
Leon Perrin's Ruhe Star Sauce, the instant marinade.
Float away with an arrow.
We got you these. They help protect the skin around your nose.
They're different to those dry tissues. Feels like there's something on it. It's a special balm, Ultra Balm.
New Kleenex Ultra Balm tissues leave behind a microfine balm with calendula to help protect your skin from drying out. New Kleenex Ultra Balm. Kleenex, a touch better.
Ever dreamed of playing at Wembley? Well, Coca-Cola could make your dreams come true. To find out how, pick up a competition leaflet from your local store.
Waking up won't stop the nightmare.
We just wanted to have some fun.
Conspiracy of Silence, Friday at 10:40.
Now Wednesday's late news from Granada, read by Andrew Brittain.
Good evening to you. The Cheshire au pair Louise Woodward, who's in jail in America, has tonight been told she'll be tried on a charge of first-degree murder. It follows the death of a little boy in her care. If she's convicted, it could mean she'd face a life sentence without parole. Paul Crowe reports.
Louise Woodward was arrested and charged in Boston 2 weeks ago after baby Matthew Epham was admitted to hospital with head injuries, where he later died. The 19-year-old had gone to Boston with an au pair agency to look after 2 American children. She's being held in a detention centre, but a campaign supported by many civic leaders has been underway for her to be released on bail. Tonight's news she'll face a charge of first-degree murder comes as a bitter blow for her family and supporters in her home village of Elton. They were hoping she'd face lesser charges and stand a chance of being given bail, but this is now remote. Miss Woodward is due before a Superior Court judge on Friday for a further hearing, but it could be a year before she faces trial.
More than 100 police officers have raided the homes of suspected drug dealers in Liverpool. They arrested 8 people and seized crack and cannabis. Andy Gill has the details.
The policeman in charge of Toxteth gave details of the raids at a news conference. It's part of a new long-term strategy aimed at ridding the area of its negative image. Police will work with community groups and businesses to make Toxteth as safe as any other inner-city area. And they intend to break the cycle of new drugs dealers stepping into the gap left when existing ones are arrested.
It's important that we actually fill that void very quickly. We'll fill that certainly with high visibility patrolling, with further intelligence-led operations, with activities to interrupt and disrupt the drugs markets, both the activities of the dealers and also those that come into the area seeking drugs.
A security guard was, a man has been arrested tonight following a siege in the Lancashire village. Armed police surrounded a house in the village of Huncote near Accrington during the incident, which started early this afternoon. The area was cordoned off as the man threatened officers. However, he was later led away peacefully. He's due to appear before magistrates in Accrington tomorrow morning. A security guard was kidnapped by armed raiders who stole nearly £500,000 in Greater Manchester this afternoon. The guard was in the back of a security van when his colleague went to deliver cash to automatic bank machines outside Sainsbury's in Aldsall in Manchester. The raiders hijacked the van with the guard inside and took the money before dumping the van nearby. Police later released the guard from the van unharmed. A constable with Merseyside Police may be prosecuted after allegations that he was involved in supplying steroids. The officer, believed to be based at Maghull, was arrested and later released on bail. He's also been suspended from duty pending the outcome of a criminal investigation. The family of the Blackburn student being held hostage in Kashmir went to Downing Street today for a meeting with the Prime Minister. Our political correspondent Mark Lyons has this report.
The parents of Paul Wells arriving at Downing Street this afternoon to press the Prime Minister over the continuing hostage crisis in Kashmir. It's now over 600 days since their son Paul was captured by Kashmiri separatists while trekking on holiday. For his father Bob Wells, this hour-long private meeting with the Prime Minister was a chance to make sure his son's plight wasn't forgotten.
The necessity to keep the momentum going on the investigations and trying to re-establish contact with the people that have got Paul.
Sources at Number 10 were keen to stress that this meeting was a purely private matter between the Prime Minister and the families of the hostages. The official line, no comment on what the government is doing to try to get the hostages home.
All organisations connected with the struggle in Jammu and Kashmir have denied responsibility for the kidnapping. That's the problem. We don't know who's taking them.
Away from talk of elections, One North West families meeting at Number 10 this afternoon, a chance to remind the Prime Minister about their son.
We move on to football now, and Manchester United have taken a giant stride towards reaching the semi-finals of the European Cup for the first time since 1969. They beat the Portuguese side, Porto, 4-0 at Old Trafford. The commentator is Brian Moore.
Irwin, planting it wide again, Perfecto, onside, no problems. Now, there's an interesting one. Bannister's there! Oh!
And there were a number of other key matches played tonight, most of them draws. Blackburn drew at Chelsea, 1 goal apiece there, while Everton drew 2-2 at Southampton. The Nationwide League game between Manchester City and Portsmouth will be shown on Granada Soccer Night. So if you don't want to know the score, look away now. And Stoke beat Grimsby 3-1. That's the news tonight. We'll have more from the 6:15 tomorrow morning. From all of us in the Liverpool newsroom, very good night to you.
Granada weather, sponsored by First Choice Holidays, for a cool choice.
Winds becoming light, and with long clear periods developing, temperatures will fall to a cold 1 Celsius, giving a widespread ground frost by dawn. Tomorrow, dry with plenty of sunshine during the morning, but thin high cloud will spread from the west during the afternoon, making the sunshine rather hazy. Temperatures will reach 11 Celsius, and with light winds, it should feel quite mild. Patchy rain and drizzle is expected on Friday morning, but bright spells should break through in the afternoon. After overnight rain clears early on Saturday, the weekend should be dry, with sunshine breaking through the cloud at times, although fog and frost may develop overnight. And that's our forecast.
For a more detailed 5-day outlook, call Weather Update, sponsored by First Choice Holidays, on 0891 559977.
The waiting is almost over. Formula 1 97 starts in Melbourne this weekend.
Qualifying is exploring the very outer limits of driving.
See all the action live in the early hours and again the next afternoon.
First race is always the most exciting because you don't know who's going to be quick and who's not going to be quick.
The Australian Grand Prix, live and exclusive this weekend, only on Granada.
Highlights from United's match against Porto at 11:40 after Granada Soccer Night with Elton Wellesby.
I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna be late! Where are you? Where are you, my little beauties? June! Have you seen me lucky pants?
Soccer Night, sponsored by Umbro and Sports Division.
Planting it wide again, Perfecto, onside, no problems. Now, there's an interesting one. Bannister's there! And it's gone in! I wanted it through there, and it was falling just behind him. That comes for Cantona!
Of Carry On City, can they make it 5 league wins in a row? Frank Clark's got him smiling again at Main Road. So opportunity knocks at last. New faces like Kevin Horlock have become instant City slickers. The problem position has been well and truly sorted by Tommy Wright. He's now a permanent fixture. Uwe Rosler's return to form is proof of Clark's man management skills. From 1 goal in 15, it's now 7 in 5.
Gilchrist headed on, and Rosler has scored.
Terry Venables bought a controlling share in Portsmouth for £1. He could be quids in if they reach the Premiership. Terry Fenwick's in charge of team affairs. The young bloods have gone Polaris-like towards the playoffs and reached the FA Cup quarter-finals. City L-boy Fitzroy Simpson fired one of the warning shots during the pre-Clark crisis, which had the scaremongers grumbling and rumbling about relegation. Those weren't the days. Well, our guest tonight here in the studio is another City L-boy. He's a United L-boy as well. He's quite simply a legend.
4 men in the box. Law, Charlton, Kidd and Gowdy. And it's in! Dennis Law, I think, just got a touch. It's the 5th Manchester City corner. And for the 5th time, Tommy Booth trots up into the penalty area to see if he can get ahead to it. Coming for it now. Bell makes it. Law, yes!
Good goal, that.
I was young then.
Listen, watching United tonight, as well as City, of course, it must have revived some great memories of your times at Old Trafford.
It did indeed, and particularly when we beat Benfica away 5-1. But tonight's performance by United was probably one of the best they've had in Europe for many a year, because everybody expected Porto to be such a strong side, and then we saw in the first minute of the game when they nearly scored, and you thought, well, they are a good side. But then United took the game and just totally destroyed them. I mean, you would have been happy with 1 or 2-0 before the game started. That would have been lovely, but to actually get 4 goals against them into the semi-final, no problem.
It's very difficult, isn't it, on a night like tonight, to single out individuals, but David May had a really big game, didn't he, for United?
I thought they all played well, and May in particular, in starting off getting the first goal. It was what you would call a typical striker's goal, because they'd gone off for the header. The ball had again, it sort of had bounced down, and he's on the deck, as we'll see. And just as it thought, Giggs was absolutely excellent. But as a team, I wasn't a bad player in the team at all.
Of the 4 goals, which was the pick for you?
Well, the third and the fourth goal were probably that, but the last goal, Cantona was so, I think, was so unselfish, and he lays it onto Cole. But when you looked at the side as a whole and you saw the attacking player, Alex Ferguson going out, kill the game after the first game, you know, get as many goals as you can, and you saw the attacking way that they played, and that's exactly what he did. He must be delighted with the team.
OK, thanks, Dennis, for the time being. We'll talk again about Manchester City shortly. Let's just check on the Premiership results for you. A point for Blackburn at Chelsea, Per Peterson getting his first goal for the club, Leicester beating Aston Villa. A hat-trick for Fabrizio Ravanelli as Middlesbrough beat Derby 6-1, Sheffield Wednesday winning 3-0 at Nottingham Forest, and a point for Everton at Southampton, but they did take a 2-goal lead through Duncan Ferguson and Gary Speed. Right, well, after a poor start to the season, Manchester City are thinking in terms of the playoffs. Alex Ferguson has actually bet on it. Portsmouth at Main Road tonight. The commentator is John Helm.
The 2 formed teams of the First Division meet with the common belief that the playoffs can still be reached. And despite the small matter of another match across the way, there's a crowd expected to be in excess of 25,000 to see if the Blues can keep the recent momentum going. City are still unbeaten in the league since Frank Clark assumed control, and they can jump 5 places by winning tonight. They'll have to do so, though, without Georgi Kinkladze, whose groin strain rules him out for the 3rd successive match, and Neil Heaney, who sustained a dead leg in Saturday's victory at Bradford. Ray Ingram is his replacement. Kit Symons could be forgiven for going into the wrong dressing room after 8 years and over 200 appearances for Portsmouth prior to his move to Main Road at the start of last season. And Fitzroy Simpson moved in the opposite direction as part of that deal. He was a scorer when Pompey sent City to their lowest ever league position of 21st with a 2-1 win at Fratton back in November. Portsmouth also make one change from their weekend side. Alan McLaughlin has not been feeling well all day, so he drops to the substitutes bench, and his place goes to former Southampton man Andy Cook, just signed after a loan spell from Swansea. And tonight's referee is Roy Pearson, who's come down from Peterlee in County Durham. You only have to listen to the crowd to know that there's been quite a transformation here since Frank Clark assumed control. And recent results have lifted the spirits of players, staff and fans alike here at Main Road. And Uwe Rosler was moving into position to try and get on the end of a throw in there from Brightwell, and Summerby down the right. Couldn't win the corner. Svensson battling through, but to no avail now. It's Dickoff. He's been in good form now. It's Sowerby, the early shot of the match, and it's tipped aside by Alan Knight. A thrilling start to this game, and Nicky Sowerby, who's short on league goals, really stretches Knight in the first minute of the match. Nice little knockback, Dickoff involved. Sowerby, a cracking shot that it would have snaked just inside the upright, but for Knight. Sowerby's 4 goals this season have included only a couple in the league, one of them here. And that was Sowerby playing the ball straight out. Not such a good touch from him. But he has got 2 goals in recent matches here against Watford and Swindon. But Alan Knight, as good as ever, the reflexes at 35, not letting him down. Over the top of Beasley, worth the chase for Bradbury. Might well have come over to hold him off. And I go. Very important intervention there by Andy Thompson. Tommy Wright, following his £450,000 move from Nottingham Forest, takes over in goal from Martin Margetson tonight, having played for Forest as part of the deal on Saturday at Tottenham, and he had a blinder in a 1-0 win. Sowerby, excellent play from him. Lovely control. His father's in the crowd tonight, who would have been impressed by that. Now it's Lomas, encouraged to hit the shot, which he does. Beaten away by Knight, Sowerby there. And Knight again showing excellent reflexes. At the second attempt, he got the ball away from Sowerby, but it's a really bristling start from City. Dickoff twisting and turning. Lomas's cross, in comes Rossler, but he was coming in behind the defender and was offside. Well, Alan Knight's a busy fellow. In the opening minutes of this game, he's had to make 2, even 3 critical saves, because this was a double one. Sowerby again to the fore in the move. Lomas cracking in the drive, and it was parried more than saved by Knight, and then he had to gather ground again to make the second stop as Sowerby closed in. Well, the flag had been raised there long before play halted. Paul Dickoff has been in exceptional form in the last few weeks. The only thing lacking from his game has been goals, to be honest. Not scored in 13 matches since the 3-2 win over Bradford City here, but he's played well. And that was a short ball there, and a free kick and a yellow card coming up, I fancy, as well. Watford's going to have his name taken for that lunge on the back of Dickoff. He's got to be careful for the remainder of this one now, as the free kick is floated in here, and out for the corner, had to be. City actually got their second goal at the weekend from just this sort of situation, with Horlock going in for the kill, and this time it's out for Sowerby, and he can't keep it down. Got a couple of shots in the early minutes of this match will lift Sowerby's spirits no end. Now McGoldrick is playing just in front of the defence tonight. It's up here for Dickoff, but the ball skimming off the surface straight through to Alan Knight. Lovely little flick, and Igo will give chase, and they must be aware of this, as it's potted back there by Simons, and it bobbled in front of Tommy Wright. The surface nearly betrayed him then. Credit Sammy Igo, who carried on dashing up the middle. Svensson, that's a lovely ball here for Cook. It gives him plenty of time to assess the cross, and he's still putting it onto the head of Horlock. Disappointing end there because Cook had a lot of time to measure that one. Hillier into Igo, the shot from Sammy Igo, played by Wright. Tommy Wright happy to make the stop here from young Igo. One of the few local-born players on the Portsmouth side. He's been much involved in this game. David Hillier was the one who set him up there. A little turn from Igo, and the shot was direct but swinging. And Hillier's done well, but that's too far. The reports suggest that David Hillier has done really well since leaving Arsenal for Portsmouth earlier this season. Perrett met that and he found Svensson too, and here's Svensson to Simpson, angled there between the full-back and the dead ball line. Simpson again creates space for the ball in. Hillier to pick it up. And Portsmouth playing some composed football too. That's just going to be a fraction too hard for Hall. Well, Hillier certainly has made a difference in the midfield for Portsmouth. And their 3-2 win at Leeds recently was no fluke, and he played a key part in it. Shocking kick from Wright, and now Bradbury. He's got a great chance here. Bradbury surely to take advantage of that mistake, and he's missed it. And what an opening for Lee Bradbury. Tommy Wright is the most relieved man in Main Road. It was a shocker of a kick, bobbled along the ground, and then Paul Beasley's attempt at a knockback was poor too. And Bradbury, that was the moment really where he should have taken the shot, and by the time he did, he drifted it wide. Lomas instinctively played the ball there towards Ingram, and it just didn't get there, but it does come to Rosler. Down he goes, free kick. Portsmouth infuriated by that, and they felt that Rosler dived. Mr. Pearson didn't share their sentiments, and he's certainly going to speak here with Perrett. I wouldn't have thought it was worth a booking. Trying to confuse Portsmouth utterly here by putting their own two-man wall in front of the Portsmouth wall. Sowerby looks like blasting it through. That he does, over the top. Very difficult from that sort of distance to keep the ball down. But there's Manchester wall in front of the Portsmouth wall, and the ball's in the crowd. He looks a little easier with the ball going forward than Simons did. But Simons is up there in the middle. Goldrick. City have got 4 in the middle. Only the cross is a good one. Sowerby can't get onto the end of the Dickoff return. But McGoldrick might to get that ball in now. Put away by Perrett. The quality of City's cross is not quite good enough yet on the night. Goldrick, the latest, not to apply the one that they were looking for. Dickoff. And this is a decent ball in, and Knight gets it away, and Horlock, and it's off the underside of the crossbar. Otherwise, Horlock was on for his 3rd in 3 games. Well, that's the clearest let-off to the Portsmouth goal so far tonight. Not out of the wood yet, because it's coming here. They are now. There's an offside flag. But Alan Knight has done so well so far tonight. I'm not sure about his contribution this time. It's full stretch for him. Carves it away. He's on the ground when Horlock heads it back in, and it comes away off the underside. Perrett was on the line too, but I don't think he'd have been able to stop Horlock's header. Unlucky that it didn't bounce down over the line. Rosler, this time he does get away from his marker. being driven to the hole. Dickoff now finds Lomas. Good try again, Lomas. Well, the quality of City's long-range shooting has been excellent tonight. There have been at least 3 efforts, a couple from Lomas, one from Summerby, which have found the mark, but they've also found Alan Knight in sprightly form. Down to it well. And the book's coming out, and Paul Hall is very aggressive at the moment in there. Look at the look on his face. Paul Hall is so aggrieved, furious. From berating him, his colleagues are trying to calm him down, and at last I think he has stopped frothing at the mouth. It's Eddie McGoldrick. He's in trouble with him. Let's have a look at this. Paul trying to get away, a little clash, a little skirmish, and nothing much in that really. And well, there was there, but prior to that it was just 2 bodies tangling. But the yellow card is out. Oh dear, that foul by Hillier, just catching Hall up as he went across him. One of those that probably looked worse than it really was, and the referee is quite lenient on this one. No booking. It's up there from Brightwell this time, Roscoe underneath it. So was the Portsmouth defence. It's scoreless at the break, but it's been a game deserving of goals. Indeed, both sides should have had at least one. Lee Bradbury presented with a gift clearance from Tommy Wright. Seemed to be on for one. Kevin Horlock at the other end rattled the underside of the Portsmouth crossbar. But at half-time, we're still awaiting a goal. It's 0-0.
Look, I'm not playing if I can't be blue.
Insure with Guardian Direct. And when you have a problem, there's always someone you can turn to. Make just one call and we'll start sorting it out immediately. All these services with low prices too. Turn to Guardian Direct. For a free quote or immediate cover, call 0800 282820.
Why settle for lashes that smudge?
Amazing Lash Mascara gives long, thick lashes that don't smudge for up to 16 hours.
Expect more.
Amazing Lash Mascara from Elme.
I love the car, Daddy.
You could fit half a house in the back.
Oh, we could have 3 more children. 3 more children.
Picnic, the family fun vehicle.
First Direct. We never close.
Alarm clock, shower, panty liner, a fresh feeling every day. But some women seem to keep it longer than others. One wears a conventional panty liner, the other wears All Days Duo Active. The dry weave top sheet absorbs moisture and locks it away in a deodorized core without perfume to help give you a fresh feeling all day long. With All Days Duo Active, you can feel the difference. All Days panty liners from Always. Feel fresher all day, every day.
Oh no, how are we going to sort this lot out?
Don't worry, Mr. Jones.
All these other insurance companies.
We'll do all that.
I'll have to take a day off going around garages getting estimates.
No, leave that to us.
But we still have to get it picked up.
No, we'll get it picked up. No problem.
When do we have to come and get it?
Don't worry. We'll deliver it back for you. I wonder if it'll be cleaned inside and out and looking like new.
Well, it certainly looks good.
It's better than that, Mr. Jones. All the work is covered by a 3-year guarantee.
For easy, low-cost motor insurance...
Better talk direct. It's a direct line.
You're late, you're late, you're late, you're late.
It was such an evenly matched first half that it's hard to say which way this one's going to go, and neither Frank Clark nor Terry Fenwick has made any alterations in personnel for the second half. Straight away, City will sweep forward as they did in that first half when they created a number of openings early in the first 5 minutes, in fact. Nothing as yet tonight has counted. Goldrick wasn't aware of the presence of Bradbury behind him. So Orford's forward for Portsmouth. As usual, I noticed that Frank Clark and Terry Fenwick have gone down to the touchline for the second half. Position they favour, having spent the first half up in the stands. Selby. Tries to relocate him. And there are the two benches. On the left of your picture you can see Frank Clark in the dark coat and equally dark coat Terry Fenwick with his back to us. Dickoff makes himself available for the low match throw, and the hook cross was quite a good one from Dickoff, and now he's found Selby as well. He'll try and get on the outside of the defender, whips it in, and Manchester City take the lead through Kevin Horlock. Beautifully created and beautifully finished as well. 3 in 3 for Horlock, but a lot of credit here. Dickoff and Sowerby. Sowerby attacks the Portsmouth defence, gets around the outside of Cook. The ball in's perfect, and Knight has no hope against Horlock's header. So Kevin Horlock, having scored against Swindon, having scored against Bradford, now scores against Portsmouth for his third goal in as many games, and what a valuable one. Given us a great start to the second half because it comes within 3 minutes of the resumption, and this fella really does have a knack of scoring. That's 11 for him now this season, and what a shrewd signing by Frank Clark. That's a giveaway from Selby, and McLaughlin has his first touch of the ball, and he'll advance and then try and clip it through here for Igo. Reverse ball from him, a shot from Hillier, good try as well. And David Hillier's been in the goals recently, he's got a couple, and he really smashes this one after Igo had laid it back for him. First time try, hasn't missed by a great deal. Hillier on the end of that McLaughlin inspired move. Terry Fenwick's got a bit of a problem here. Portsmouth unbeaten in the last 8 Cup and League games, but they're creating little for their front men. That's why he sent McLaughlin on to try and provide ammunition for Bradbury and Spencer. McLaughlin, he Lob up there beyond Beasley, and Bradbury is going to give chase and win a throw for Portsmouth. He's not got a vast following tonight. Not much of the Pompey chimes, but it's a long journey, of course. And here's a ball in towards Svensson, and there's the header from Simpson over the top. He'd love to get a goal tonight back here at the club that he used to play for. He scored against them earlier in the season. And this one bounced nicely for him. Paul Hall's ball in, and straight across, and then the bounce favoured him, but he put it over the top. Oh, a real dash from him, and across towards Svensson, and the header is palmed away by Tommy Wright, who completes the stop. The first opening Spencer's had this evening, and as one Sean Rave notices of late, Paul Hall was the one who set this up. It's a firm enough header, but a pretty easy stop really for Wright. Ball up here is for Rossler. It'll come down for Dickoff. Rossler is spaced through on the left for Horlock. Beaten away. It's amazing how Horlock is the one who gets into all these excellent attacking positions with a chance of scoring. High goes led Portsmouth forward this time. Now McLaughlin. Simpson on his left. The game picks up again after a bit of a lull. There's an accidental collision there involving Bradbury and Beasley. They're both up and all right. City just encouraging Portsmouth to come forward until that pass from Hillier, which had not been read. So Rossler. Somerby now. Somerby will hit one. Oh, it's a good try. Fully 30 yards, Nicky Somerby. Much applause for that effort. He's a long way out, really. He could have probably advanced a little further, but he decides to try his luck. Alan Knight had to guess which way it was, and it was just sliding wide of the upright. Rossler, and he's angled it back here, and it's beaten away, but Somerby still has the chance to belt it back in, and there are three in the middle if the cross is good. It was good, but not quite good enough, not yet anyway. Dickoff, they're queuing up in there, Lomas over the top. Always an awkward angle, but put over by Lomas. One of those that looks bad, but it's amazing how often these do miss. Somerby with the ball in, caused panic, that's for sure. And then it was chased by Dickoff, and there were 3 or 4 waiting, and it was Lomas who just looped it over with the instep. So is this run under Frank Clark going to continue? City have given themselves a platform for it. Rossler's not had much change out of the Portsmouth defence tonight, but he's played the ball back from McGoldrick. Lomas can advance from here. Might have to go all the way. Pulls it in. Just needs to turn. Dickoff nearly tripped. Finally gets the shot in and beaten out by Knight. He was so close to winning a penalty there, Paul Dickoff. Coughlin. Slips it through for Svensson, who can attack from here. He's going to do well to get past Simons. He's been outstanding. He's pretty determined that nothing's going to get past him tonight, Kit Simons. He didn't enjoy the return to Fratton Park earlier in the season, but he's really enjoyed it this evening. And the second Manchester City substitution sees the withdrawal of Paul Dickoff, for Chris Greenacre to come on for the 3rd successive game as a substitute. He plays up front, 19 years of age, from Wakefield. Andy Orford. Also Portsmouth player now. Here's the play with Simons, of course, back there. And that's going to be a free kick against Manchester City in a potentially dangerous position. A high boot, and This will give Portsmouth a chance. This had already gone there, and then you see Hillier threw the ball straight into the face of Brown. And Hillier, I thought he was going to be in trouble. Brightwell's being spoken to for a high boot. Now Paul Hall, who was booked earlier, told to calm down as well. But at the end of all that, the most important thing is whether or not Portsmouth can grab an equaliser from this. This is where they're going to look to Fitzroy Simpson to blast one in. From a touch from Hillier. So Simpson through, what a goal! That's a fabulous strike, and how he's enjoyed that, coming back here to Main Road, and it's a double for him this season. He's scored in both matches against his old club now. Well, it couldn't have been better executed. It's a smacking shot from Simpson into the corner of the City net. Wide of the wall, wide of right, into the City net, 1-1. Well, now City have been somewhat muted and disjointed in the second half. Coughlin. Well, last try for Portsmouth maybe. Igo. You would have the feeling that both sides would settle for a point now. They certainly won't want to lose it. But Igo again has done well, and he's laid the ball in here. It'll come from McLaughlin. Certainly Portsmouth have probably finished the stronger of the two sides. And Durnin tries to get around the marker, gets it across here, and Simons, I think that's going to go out. It's a corner. And Bradbury against Simons has been one of the highlights of this tussle this evening, from two sides extremely well matched. But a point, not a lot of good for either of them. In ambitions to go higher. Portsmouth corner then. Didn't get to Bradbury. Well, the best football of the game was played in the first half, but the goals came in the second. Perfect start for the second half given to City by Kevin Horlock's third goal in consecutive matches, and for a long time it looked as though that would be good enough to win the match. But then a brilliantly executed free kick from former City man Fitzroy Simpson has won a point here for Portsmouth, and neither side deserved to lose, to be fair. So the result was about right. Manchester City won, Portsmouth won.
Well, that was a bit disappointing in the end, Dennis, wasn't it? We'll have reactions from Dennis and from Main Road after the break, and plenty of goals from elsewhere, both tonight and last night, with Bolton grinding out a point at Palace. But it wasn't Nathan Blake's night.
Found it.
Paris Info Express.
Papa.
Petit souris.
The new Renault Clio. It's moved on.
Do you wear glasses? Like the idea of contact lenses, but worry they could feel uncomfortable? Then take the one-day AccuView Comfort trial. One Day AccuView, ultra thin and soft. One Day AccuView means fresh new lenses every day, the ultimate in comfort. So contact your optician and discover the healthiest way to wear contact lenses. Or call this number and ask for the One Day AccuView Comfort Trial.
In exactly 1 hour's time, this builder is going to need everything he ordered yesterday. A cement mixer, 450 by 450 ribbon paving, 8 foot by 2 foot flooring grey Tonga groove chipboard, and a complete classic collection fitted kitchen in light oak. So while he's getting dressed, we'll be delivering it all to his site.
The way you left them.
And when he gets there, he'll find the Jewson lots exactly where he needs it. Jewson. Keeping builders building.
If you're 25, I probably look just like another boring businessman. You'd be wrong. I'm your guardian angel. 30 years from now, you could be living off a boat with a little help from me. Or running that little cheese shop in the Cotswolds. Or writing the novel. Or being the next Capability Brown. Or simply not catching the 832. I'm Peter Davis, head of Prudential, and whether it's with pensions, savings, investments or mortgages, I can help you change your life.
Peter Davis, the man from the Pru.
Sorry I'm late. What a day.
It's all right, don't worry about it.
I think I'll have the Cajun chicken. Yeah, just reading it gives me heartburn.
Here, have one of these.
Pepsi.
When you sense you're about to suffer from indigestion or heartburn, just one tiny Pepsid AC could stop it before it really starts.
So that means ready to order, sir. Is your Cajun chicken spicy?
Yes.
Good. I'll have that.
You could be heartburn-free with new Pepsid AC.
Determined to stop? Try Nicotinell's Tasty Gum. No tasty way to beat the break. It needn't be held with Nicotinell.
Turn now! I've got something on.
Welcome back. Manchester City still undefeated under Frank Clark in the league, but really 2 points thrown away tonight.
We lost it a little bit, I think, after we scored. They upped the tempo, and I was disappointed that we couldn't get hold of the ball. We couldn't really keep the ball and quieten the game down a little bit. We got a little bit caught up in the atmosphere as well. Lost a bit of discipline. So we probably didn't deserve anything more than a point.
When you concede so late, it's always very disappointing being in the lead and that. So yeah, I suppose looking back on it, we're disappointed to lose the game, but saying that, I think they'd have been disappointed to lose it as well.
I enjoyed that goal. I mean, that point's very important for us. I mean, we don't play in the league campaign for another couple of weeks, especially with the cup game, and we needed to get back on track.
It's a decent performance. I mean, they're a very good side, so it's no disgrace getting a draw at home against Portsmouth, but just disappointed we didn't get all 3 points.
Was that as strict an examination as you've had recently from a good side?
I think so. I think on what we've seen tonight, they're as good a side as I've come up against in the first division, certainly since I came here.
Yeah. I think Frank Clark there, Dennis, very generous considering they dropped a couple of points at home. But when it comes to chances, then City deserve to win from what we saw.
Well, of course, we watched both games in the studio at the same time, so it was very difficult to sort of concentrate on anything. But what we saw on the highlights, City had probably
that's what I'm basing it on.
8 chances that they could have scored, and their keeper played extremely well. But it's disappointing that they sort of dropped the 2 points, isn't it? You know, had they won it, then you got them up a bit higher and in with a chance then of the player. So
Alan Knight was very much the star for Portsmouth in the early stages.
He was in particular, and early on in the game, of course, when we saw Nicky Summerby hit that, it was swerving away from him. It really was a fantastic save. But they had 2 or 3 of that, didn't they, in the whole game? I thought Nicky Summerby was like, a bit like his father in the old days, particularly in his crossing and in his shooting in particular. That was another fine save from Rossler. And if you totaled them all up, there was probably about 9 or 10 chances that they could have done, but Frank was probably quite generous.
What about the chance that Lee Bradbury had for Portsmouth following an indifferent goal kick by Tommy Wright, wasn't it?
Well, it was one of those things that happened, but it wasn't a particularly good kick. But when it came back, it was Beasley who actually knocked it back, and Bradbury should have scored his empty goal.
Now, we talked about Frank Clark and what a super job he's doing at Manchester City. He seems to have made a very shrewd purchase in Kevin Horlock, who's now scored in 3 successive games.
Well, I think he scored, was it 8 goals or something in 11 goals this season, but that really was a lovely goal, a nice cross from Summerby, and when you're in that sort of mood and you're confident, you get into those positions, and when balls like this come across, all you have to do is to put your head in there and score it, and he looked to me, in what I saw him, a very good player indeed.
And again, the cross came in from Nicky Summerby, who was looking like his dad there, but he had such a bad time at City for a while. The Boo Boys gave him...
they were going through a bad time, and of course they got to pick on certain people, but I think Frank Clark has got him playing, what he does best, go down that wing and get the ball in, and if you're a striker, you need ammunition, and that's what he's supplying.
Now, Fitzroy Simpson latched one in. We saw the start of the programme from 25 yards in the game at Fratton Park, and here he is again, doing pretty much the same.
It was a strange goal, because I thought it was going through the wall. Of course, it went to the side, and normally bends, it would normally come round the other way, but that was going away from the keeper all the time, so he found it very difficult.
Disappointing way to concede a goal, because I'm not too sure about the foul that led to it.
Well, there was a bit of controversy whether the foul should have been given, and what we saw, probably maybe a wee bit biased towards Manchester City, but it didn't look a foul to me, and of course there was a lot of juggling about with the ball, and I think Hillier was quite forced to stay on the field.
There were 1 or 2 unsavoury incidents towards the end, with City on the receiving end. I mean, should Portsmouth have finished the game with 11 men?
Frank, could you see that? I mean, look at that. I mean, the referee is just there as well. He's
right on top of it.
2 yards away, and I thought that he was very fortunate for him. Now, that was a foul. You can't get away from the fact that was a foul. That Svensson then, he shoves him away. Again, you cannot raise your hands. It is a booking.
Okay, Dennis, thanks very much for that. Well, City's sort of pushed towards the playoff positions, held back just a wee bit tonight. Let's see how Stoke got on. They were at home to Grimsby. Here's Mike Sadler.
The first half was distinctly forgettable for Stoke fans, if only for the goal they conceded. Dismal, dithering defending, punished by Steve Livingston. That apart, there was little to cheer, as neither side really came to terms with a difficult surface. Again, everything positive was created by mistakes. Keeper Andy Love almost gifting Mike Shearon the softest of equalisers. In fairness, Love was then forced into the only real save of the half, Ray Wallace at least ensuring the Grimsby keeper got his knees dirty. The second period started in much the same vein, this time though to the cheer of the Potters. Shearer's run finished in the unlikeliest manner by defender Nicky Southall. If that was desperately bad luck for the visitors, Stoke's second was a fine goal. Graham Kavanagh was the player whose sweetly struck drive finished off any Grimsby resistance. Stoke well on their way to home league win number 11.